recently there have been reports that there will be charges for payment through UPI. But now the government is saying that it has no intention of levying charges on these payments. This has created a lot of confusion. But the question is, why is there a lot of confusion in the first place? It is worth noting that recently the Reserve Bank had issued a discussion paper. This raised concerns about the imposition of charges on UPI transactions. However, it was not made clear that whether such charges would be levied. Now, the government has tried to allay the concerns about it. Terming UPI as a digital public good, the Finance Ministry said that the government does not plan to levy any charges on UPI services. The discussion paper of RBI covers all the initiatives related to charges in payment systems like IMPS, NEFT, RTGS and UPI. There are many payment mediums like debit card, credit card and PPI, that is, prepaid payment instruments. On UPI, the Reserve Bank questioned that if such transactions are charged, will they be charged by the regulator or will it be controlled by the market? Anyway, a fixed amount should be charged. MDR or merchant discount rate is the charge that merchant banks, card networks and point of sale providers pay to payment gateways for offline transactions and online purchases. This is a contentious issue and the government has been requested several times to review the decision, citing problems related to industry innovation, lack of adequate funds to upgrade the required infrastructure. Therefore, to discuss the issue of whether or not to take money from users for the use of payment systems, RBI said in its discussion paper that the payment system operators are independent entities and the expenses are related to the systems. Due to this, the possibilities of levying the charges increased. At this point of time, there is no charge on UPI, debit and RuPay cards as they come under the zero MDR policy of the government. Under this policy, merchants will not have to pay any charges for accepting payments through this mode. In January 2020, the government withdrew MDR on UPI and RuPay debit card transactions, which accelerated payments through UPI. Another important point to note is that there is a lack of transparency in the intermediaries providing payment acquisition services. These intermediaries are either outsourced service providers of banks or financial institutions directly maintaining merchants' accounts. They usually charge MDR as service providers of banks and get income as per their agreement with the banks. But when they act directly as financial institutions maintaining merchants' accounts, then they can charge additional charges over and above the MDR. The charges levied by the intermediary are usually clubbed with the MDR. This practice of adding MDR to the total charges levied by the intermediary has led to a lack of transparency. Rohit Kumar, CEO and founder of Xpay.life, said that due to initiative by the Ministry of Finance and Startup India, digital transactions in India are at an all-time high. In fact, India is the leading country in doing digital transactions in the world. This has been mainly attributed to the fact that UPI transactions have been made free of cost to the consumers. However, for the betterment of entire infrastructure and risk mitigation activities that has been taken by banks and various service providers, there has to be an avenue for the earnings for the banks and service providers. He also added that they are looking forward on hearing from the ministry on as to how some amount of revenue can be generated through UPI either from the government or the customer. Also, just recently in an interview, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that with regards to UPI charges, RBI will examine and take a call once comments from stakeholders for the feedback asked through the discussion paper is received.